Professor Pete here, designing for the web. We are going to look at how we can use Photoshop to design our initial page for our mobile website. So let's jump right into it. This is what you'd see when you go to New Document. Pretty straightforward. You go to Mobile and you'll see that there's the iPhone X and there's other presets. I'm okay with the iPhone X, so I'm going to go ahead and create. As you see on the right hand side, the width and the height are pretty solid. And there it is. I do want to show you what I also have in my folder. So in my folder I've got my About Me page. We'll have this icon. Then I have my films here, and then I also have a contact image, and I'll use that as my button for the mobile site. I also have an old logo right here, Rising Sun. It's from 2012, and I'm going to use that also as my base. So I'm going to go first ahead and just drag that in to my artboard, and so there it is, and it snaps, so it looks like it's centered there. I'm going to start going into my layers, and I'm going to start to name things. So layer 2 is called logo, and layer 1 I will make it black bar. So Control Delete creates a black bar. So there is the top of my page. I'm going to start dragging in my other assets, and I'm going to start putting this into my page. As you can see, they're pretty large, and I do want to make sure that they're all the same size, and so we'll need to make sure that happens. So there is my bio, which I don't need anymore, and here is my contact. I wish I cleaned my phone a little bit there. It's a little dusty, but I will scale this down as well, and I will grab my films and put those in there. I think I might just grab a section of it. I think this is the biggest section, so I'm going to just grab that, hold down V, press V, and there is my films. So the films will appear somewhere in the middle here, but I just do want to figure out what's the size that I will have for each button. I'm going to name them. So I have a films section, I have my contact, and then I have my... So again, I'm just going to look and see what I can work with here. And, you know, in fact, I don't really like this artboard. I'm going to pull this out of the artboard. I'm probably going to scale down my contact image. So I just hit the marquee, Control-Shift-I, deselects the background. So that looks okay. So I think this will be my base. I'm going to hit the marquee button, and I'm going to go over to my face and try to get this thing to snap correctly, and Control-Shift-I here too. Make sure I'm on the About page, hit delete, so there's that, and marquee the bottom here too. Control-Shift, Control-D that, because I think this is a little too big. I'm going to go to the films here, move it up, and work with it here. So Control-Shift-I, hit delete, I'll make sure I'm over the films layer, and then there we go. So now we've got, I'm right clicking every time here to select the layers. So now we do have our 3 boxes. And I'm going to make sure the distance looks okay for all 3. So I'm going to shift select these and just drop them down, so that way we've got a little bit of a gap there. I don't know if I like the black, and I definitely don't like the white, but for now, under this background of layer 1, I'm just going to Control Delete and just make that as my background color now too. So there's definitely some issues, especially on the contact, with the bar going off a little bit there. So I'm going to just go in there, zoom in, and make sure all that stuff deleted. So that's cleaned up the bottom here. And make sure those corners are good too. So there's some other stuff coming through. Looks like this. The films has also got some problems on the corner. So I'm just going to manually move over. Make sure it fits perfectly there. And it looks like the contact looks good. Rising Sun is not centered, so I need to also center the logo. And I'll also drop it, because you can see I've created a margin this margin here and the margin up top here should be the same. So that's the same with these three as well. The margin there is also a little off. As you can see, the distance between here and here are a little off, so I need to just maybe nudge them up a little to about there. So there you go. There we go. We got some pretty good design for the first page. We got the bottom here. I can fill something else in there later. And so now I'm going to put in some text. I'm going to use white since everything is so bright and colorful. I tend to use the same types of fonts, so I'm going to start with Myrid. And I'm going to use bold. And I'm going to increase the size. Still not big enough. And I think I'm going to use caps. This is what I currently have. I don't really like the way everything is looking. The contact, you know, I don't know, the films about, I think maybe the size of them is too small, so I'm going to select them and then scale them up. My only concern is that the about, it's covering my face a little bit, so I just need to figure out, you know, how it's going to look. So maybe the lower corner, you know, the text on the top right kind of works too. So maybe that'll be okay. And again, I'll need to make sure it's even on about and films. And you can see the films text is starting to kind of blend in really with the background. So that's not working either for me. But what we could do here is we could go and put in a layer. We'll call it black, and we'll bring in a brush. And brush is 200. You want to make sure you click on it, hardness set to 0, and then we can just go like this over it, and then hit V on the keyboard, and then go 50% on it. So that pulls it out a little bit. So I think that's okay. I think too, though, I feel that the images are a little still too big. So I'm going to go to the about and just break it down further. Use the marquee and just chop more of this off. Maybe from the top as well. So I'm going to select, I'm going to hold down Shift, click on this thumbnail. It selects the marquee. I can then go over here and remove some stuff here. Just Control-Shift-I, hit delete on the keyboard. Control-Shift-I, hit delete over films, and that deletes that, and then I'll do the same over on the contact. You know, the contact could go up a little bit, so it shows like this. I prefer it to be inside though, and so I think that'll be okay. And here's my about. Just drag this, and I'm just nudging it a little bit just to make sure the distance between the margins are okay. Films needs to drop down a little, something like that maybe. And then I can start to link them together. So films and films here can be linked. So that way, when I select them, they can just move together. And again, the spacing, I'll make sure it looks okay. That looks pretty close. And then with contact and contact, you can link those as well and bring those up, holding down Shift and nudging on the arrow keys. So that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Hit save, and on the bottom here I can put some sort of disclaimer. I can put copyright, all rights reserved. That'll always be fun to have at the bottom. So yeah, I just wanted to show how I design my main page. Overall, I like it. I definitely think I'm going to make some changes eventually though with it. But for the most part, I like the way that looks. So that's how I design, following the grid, making sure the margins are correct, make sure the text all fits in. It's easier to now look at and explore. And again, it's pretty simple. It's just a vertical. It's worth testing this out in XD to see how it looks on the phone. But I think this is going to look pretty good. So that's all I got. Hope you enjoyed the video. Keep learning. Professor Pete out.